two categories, which is like basic research and applied research. And simple example would be, if I was doing basic research, I would probably be discovering the laws behind, like, say I'm a physicist, I'll be studying like string theory, or like how like that applies to, like, say, astrophysical objects. But an applied scientist would try to study how exactly those things could like be applied, those principles, those laws which the other scientists have discovered can be applied to solve real world problems. Essentially, like, everything starts with like research somewhere, and like if you want to like participate in that and like find like new things, like that is why you would opt for research over like a non-core job like finance or like coding or things like that. How do you know if it interests you? You just have to explore. And it's not like some people might scare you and say, oh, you have to like from first year only you have to go and like you have to be sure on what you want to do and like this thing. That's all bullshit. Like you can explore how much ever you want. Like there's nothing like that. My advice would be to, like, if you feel like try taking a research project under a professor in KGB, and if you like it, like move on and like go for internships and things like that. What all research fields are there in core? I mean, if like someone wants in biotech, I can explain it, but this is like way too broad of a question for me to answer. Should go to your go ask your department seniors, like, or just go to your department website, see what all the professors are doing. If you don't like what your department guys are doing, go to IISc or like some foreign university like Stanford, MIT, see what all they're doing, because especially foreign universities like do research at the cutting edge of like what people do in the field, and they have a lot of very interesting like outcomes and approaches they use to solve problems and apply science to solve problems. So that this you should, like, if anyone wants to know about biotech, you can text me later, but like this is too big of a question for me to answer now. Next question. Okay, question number 2. Is it necessary to pursue a master's or PhD if we wish to go into research? What opportunities do we miss out on? I think, like, yeah, you like in generally you do need to do that. So most like even corporate positions in R&D require like at least a master's degree. It's very rarely you hear people with just a bachelor's degree going to research. And put simply, that's the reason they have that limit is because they want you to like sit and do only research without any other commitment for a very long time, which is usually what you do during a master's thesis. Like where I'm going, and most like universities for masters, like the second year entirely is almost like for masters, where, sorry, for your thesis, where you work on a single research project, no courses, nothing else. And with that amount of time, if you put it on, you'll get like proper results, like maybe like publications and things like that. Which is why most companies or even academic positions will want you to like have your master's thesis. And like for KGB people, dual degree people as well, like your MTP project will also count for this, because in your fifth year you won't have as many courses to deal with. Essentially, that's what they're looking for, which is why like most like places will appreciate if you have a master's thesis. And yeah, there is like without that experience of like like taking a research project on your own and like doing like long-term research, you do miss out on a lot of opportunities. Like most corporate positions, like say for biotech, don't take anyone below masters, and a lot of R&D positions need at least a PhD. So yeah, like you do miss out on a lot of opportunities. If you wanted to go into corporate R&D or academic, higher studies is definitely the only way to go. But like adding on to that, like it doesn't mean that like you can't work for a few years and go. You don't have to go directly. You can work for a few years and see if you like your corporate job or whatever, and then like decide.
Right. Are there any follow-up questions up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
now?
Please feel free to ask any follow-ups if you have.
I guess no, since nobody is raising their hands. Yeah, just a second, somebody has.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Srijan, you can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, what is the difference between MS research and PhD program in foreign universities? Are they the same, or like, is there any difference?
Okay, so they're very different. All right. So an MS essentially, how it usually goes is you have first year is like entirely coursework, which is like pretty high level coursework. And the second year is done for a thesis. So it's usually 2 years, and if you're a god, you can finish it like less than 2 years by taking the courses, like all the courses together and finishing off. Most people take 2 years. And a PhD is very different, right? A PhD is where you select a lab and you work with them for like years. Okay, so in Europe, for example, a PhD is a 4-year commitment. In US, it can go up to like 7 years, depending on the lab, right? You work with the lab, you sit and write a 200, 300 page thesis, like based on like what all work you've done over like 4 or 5 years on a singular research project, right? So essentially, both are very different, but like you obviously start with coursework in a PhD, but most of the focus is on your PhD thesis, where you like sit and like do a research project for a very long time or research on a field. And most colleges have a publication requirement for a PhD. That means you need to publish 2 papers, journal papers, before you can get you're awarded the degree and you're awarded the doctorate, obviously. So yeah.
And what is the difference like between MS and MTech? They are the same or what? Like,
Yeah, they're very similar. Like in foreign universities, they're all MS only. It's like everything is called an MS as far as I know.
okay.
So only in India we have BTech MTech, because like there they call it like BS MS. Okay. I think one more person has a question. If Srijan is
Yeah,
on.
Krishna Vamshi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
you
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, but which is preferred? That is, I'm a BTech student right now in biotech department. Which is better if I convert into dual degree in the KGP, or if I do MTech or MS in any abroad universities or any other universities like IISc, Bangalore?
Okay. So obviously the master's degree from foreign university will have more value. However, like you can, if you want to go for a direct PhD, you can consider converting, because like a lot of like with your master's thesis, is like your PhD application will be very strong. The thing with my case is that like, because so my specialization is virology, and because of the pandemic, a lot of random people have applied for virology, plus they didn't take that many international students for that field. It was pretty difficult to get a PhD position directly with my BTech degree. So you could consider converting and then like going direct for a PhD. However, if you're not sure, if you need more time, because like sometimes you can get into industry with just with an MS as well. So if you're not sure about that, if you want to commit for a PhD, because as I said, it's a very long commitment, then you might as well go for an MS degree and then like see how the industry works, and if you like it, continue, or like apply for a PhD after that.
Thank you.
Any further follow-ups?
No, just a pointer. If you're asking any question, please make sure that it's based on whatever is discussed, since maybe whatever question you're asking right now might have already been considered in the upcoming FAQs. Or maybe you can ask it later as well. So to avoid repetition, you just stick to whatever is being discussed right now. Yeah, that's it. Samuel, you can continue.
Okay, cool. Question number 3. If someone is unsure of what research will interest them the most, what should they do? Given that it's impossible to try out a project in every field. Okay, so first of all, like I said, just go stalk professors online. Go to like, if you want to be really amazed, go to like MIT or Stanford or some like any like Oxford or whatever. See what researchers, you know your broad interest. Say like you're in material science or you're in biotech or whatever, right? Like go look and see what professors are doing, and you'll get an idea of like how research goes in the field, and like whether you like doing that or not. I always like wanted to do something which was more applied, which like had real world application over basic, which is why my degree, right, which I'm going for to the Netherlands, is also applied science. I worked with like viruses, like because I wanted to find medicines. Again, that's like applied science as well. So like, sure, it's impossible to try out a project in every field. So like the next step would be like try finding a professor in KGP, or in India, or an intern professor who is willing to host you, who does work in a similar field, and see if you like it. If you like it, all well and good. If you want to explore other things, again, same process. Like find other professors you want to work with and see if you like it. Okay. The thing is that it does not matter as much when you're applying for higher studies. If you don't directly have experience in what you're applying for, especially for masters, because like what they all, I think they look for when your application is your motivation to do work or like to work in research, and that will always stay no matter like where you work in. And number two, while the research fields might be different, that a lot of skills can be like used in multiple projects. You don't like the skills like with different fields will be pretty similar with like minor variations. So you can still like understand, like even if you want to go to a different like field within your department, you can still like understand and like be able to contribute to research. So yeah, like don't worry about like, okay, it might gimp my applications later because I'm not like worked in that field. Because like again, the degree I applied for now is like not, I've not done research work in it prior, but in my SOP, like I sold like whatever work I've done so far and said why it's relevant to their degree, and like I got it. So you have to be careful about all that, but you can work. Next question. How to get started in research, how to ask professors for project, what should be our yearly goals for the 4 years of BTech. Okay. How to get started in research, okay? First step would be to email a prof in KGP, get a proper project for the semester and work with them. The way I started was like, I learned like coding and I learned data analysis, even though I don't like it. I learned coding in like my first year summer, and I just kept it in hand in case like something happened. I just emailed a professor who like whose work I like, Arindam Mondal in School of Bioscience, and like he was like luckily like said okay, like he sent me, what they'll usually do is they'll send you some research papers on their field, and like they'll tell you to read them and ask doubts, and like once like you read that, you'll get an idea of their field, like a better idea of their field of work. If you like it, like go ahead, tell them okay, I want to work with you further, and they'll usually assign you a PhD scholar or a master student or someone to teach you the basics of how the lab works, right? If you're looking for KGB profs, usually younger profs are a good bet because they're still like they're still young, they understand what you're going through, they understand your predicament, and they're really nice, and they really like guide you and help you out. So if you're having trouble finding a professor, younger profs are a good bet. Again, for individual departments as well, like there will be good older profs as well who take students and teach students. So like you should find that out on your own, asking seniors from your department. So how to ask them? Just email them saying, okay, hi, like I've done this, I'm in this department, I like your work, I can contribute in like with my skills, whatever I have so far, I can contribute in so and so ways. So probably because pandemic is going on and you can't work on site, tell that okay, you know coding or you know data analysis, you know ML or something, and say how it can help with one of their projects, and hopefully they reply and like they have some ideas of how you can work. What should be your yearly goals for your 4-year BTech? I mean, I never had yearly goals. I just went with the flow. Just try to like keep doing something, like either like do online courses, learn new skills, or like always like work with like work or intern with profs, because I would say that like research experience trumps like every other coursework or anything you get. So try your best to get as much research experience as possible, because like like not only the experience itself, the recommendations and everything will like really help you with your like a few applications, and their guidance as well will help you understand like research in general. Next question, if no one has any follow-ups.
Yeah, just a second. Kirti, someone has a question. I'll just allow your mic. Yeah, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kirti Sri from Manufacturing Science and Engineering Department. So
right.
I wanted to ask, can we approach a professor asking for a project before we have the basic necessary skills? Like, I'm interested to develop once I get the sufficient guidance, but now currently I don't have any skills. Will the professor be interested to give me a project?
Sure. Okay. So KGP profs in general should be fine because you are like part of the uni. Just like while you're contacting them, like try to show your motivation in your interest, like why you're interested in their work, and show your motivation as to like how you'll be able to learn, or like you'll be willing to do anything, like whatever they want, like so that you learn the skills needed, and they should be fine. Again, like that's why I'm saying that younger profs will understand how they're going through, understand how it is, which is why generally they're okay with like working with students. But like depending on your department, there will be older professors as well who do the same thing, but that's totally fine. The thing is, if you're applying for internships outside, that is a problem if you don't have experience. That is why like my advice would be to like get a project at least in your second year, and start working on that so that you learn skills, and then you apply for interns with like saying, okay, I know this because I worked with this professor. No further questions. Soham Chakrabarti has a question.
Yeah. Soham, you can
Hello,
unmute.
am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am Soham Chakrabarti of the electrical department. So my question is, suppose I want to do a research project under a prof that is not from my department. So, like, how feasible is it, and how should I approach?
I mean, say, like, I'm guessing. See, the thing is, like, the departmental system is not regimented. In that, you might find, like, say, like, there's a prof in my department who does ML, so it's fine if the CS student works with them. Or there is a CS prof who does like computational biology, right, or computational neuroscience. So it's fine if biology people work with them as well. Beyond that as well, like, it's generally fine, but like profs will be less likely to take you. Except in certain fields like CS or something where like you like in general it's fine because like people can gain experience very easily. But other on-site work like biology or like any other experimental work in general, they don't like take people from other departments. But computational like remote work, it is possible, but like generally I've heard people doing projects in the CS department or like maybe EC department or people who do computational work there.
So I'm actually interested in biotechnology only. So I wanted to know like how feasible it is for me if I say apply for a project under a professor in say biotechnology or biosciences.
Okay, wait. So like I can't answer it right now because I don't know exactly what you're interested in. You can text me later. But beyond that as well, there's a prof in EC who does like biology, biosensors, and all. If you want to get into biology that way, like you could like look at the EC department because since you're electrical, that would be like a more related department, and they might be willing to take you as well.
His name is Sudipta Nag, right?
Yeah, sorry, Sudipta Nag. Yeah,
I know about it.
So you can you can contact them, but text me later because I don't know exactly what you're interested in.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Should we prioritize getting a project under a professor from a foreign university over the ones under KGP profs? If yes, how to get the project under the foreign? Okay. So two things, right? Like, so I'm an experimental guy. For us, it is usually better to get a project under from a foreign university. I mean, as long as like the ranking is decent, like or the university is good. Okay, don't go to some random Taiwan university whose like US ranking is 800 or like something which is like way worse than KGP. As long as like it's like decent or like better than KGP, it is always better to get a project from a foreign university. It is very possible for like remote projects for people to do that, like working from home. That is something that happens. In general, for on-site experimental work, like summer interns through internship programs is like how you get like projects from a foreign university. Beyond that, like you can try like directly emailing them and see if they need people and like if they're willing to take you. Like same as how you contact an Indian prof, just write an email or cover letter saying giving an introduction, why you want to work with their lab / why you like them. Paragraph 3 should be like what skills you have that will help with their work, and paragraph 4 would be a conclusion. Generally, people start doing this from the third year, like getting experience from Indian like profs and Indian colleges like over the second year. But like people do it like in their second year as well. It's not like unheard of. Next question. What if we don't get a project under any professor? Is a self-project a good option? How to go about it? Is a project under a prof preferred over it? I think like so in general, like it's not like that hard to get a project under a professor in KGP. Somehow like you'll be able to find it. A project under a prof is always preferred because like they'll give you recommendations or they'll have connections like in our foreign universities, people who they've worked with who might be able to get you an internship there or like funding somehow because of their connections, right? And they'll also give you recommendation letters for your applications and internship program. This is why you should always prioritize getting a project under a professor over a self project. Beyond that, a self project is fine if it's only a last option. But again, make sure that like you are learning skills that will be relevant to get you an internship next time or later. Like say you learn data analysis, or you learn data and bioinformatics, or like whatever things you need for your future like applications and internship application. But like worst case, like you should be able to get a project under a KGP. That's like how it usually works. Next question. When it comes to campus placement, there is a dearth of job opportunities in the core sector for a BTech graduate. Are there sufficient opportunities in the core sector after we attain a higher degree? Okay, so this is more advice about like how when you approach your applications in your final year, like you need to look at like what degrees you're applying for and what graduates of that degree are doing. And there are definitely sufficient opportunities in core after you attain a higher degree. There are definitely a lot of opportunities like for core research outside. Generally, in R&D departments of like corporates, corporates and like startups and things like that, or like even further academia where you can do a PhD or a postdoc position, and then you can go and like teach as a professor position on an RA, right? There are definitely job opportunities in core like after obtaining a higher degree, simply because like at least like my department in KGB does not even have core placements, right? It's like very like I don't know why they don't have it. They don't have it. And in India in general, I'm sure it's like similar for a lot of fields, not all of them, but a lot of departments don't have core placements. But that is definitely very different when you go for a higher studies degree, where like you have a lot of core placements for like most departments, and they prioritize that as well if you for your exploration. But like you have to look at a specific degree and see. Like when I made my decision for Delft, I contacted seniors who were studying there, and I made a conscious decision that I will earn more money than like I give for the degree, which is why I committed to it. You need to do that research while you're applying, before you submit your application or before you're considering accepting it, because in general that there are opportunities, but you have to look on your own and like decide. How difficult is it to switch majors for higher studies? Do students with a BTech degree in the same field get a preference over others? If they get admitted, does it get very tough for them? Okay, it's a good question. So this again depends on the program. Okay, some like master's programs or PhD programs have course requirements, right? They say you need to have these many credits in like this course, or you need to demonstrate like proficiency in that thing like while applying. So that means that like you can either like try to cope up, like I'm sure this question will mainly come for people trying to switch to a CS major from whatever they're doing, CS or finance. You can try to cope up that course requirement through your like additionals or whatever minor you're doing, or through like your research work as well, right? But a significant number of colleges do not like care about what degree you have, as long as like through your SOP you are able to demonstrate significant proficiency in what you're applying for and significant motivation in what you're applying for. If they get admitted, does it get very tough for them? I'm sure if you reach that point, like you will be fine with it. Like it's not like you're going from school to college where like you didn't have CS in school and then suddenly in college you're like required to do coding. It's not going to be like that, simply because you've applied to that degree for a reason, because you want to do it. That means you know what you're doing. You have worked in that field before and you've decided, because it's a huge decision. It's not some random thing, right? So it like if you get admitted, like I don't think it will be very tough for you, like given that you've already like got this far. But like yeah, it is possible. People do it. What like people do is like say they work for a few years in say if you want to switch to CS, they work for a few years in a non-core company and then apply for masters, because you can use that work experience for like application like wherever you need to go, right? That's one example.
Yeah, Soham, did you have a question? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I had a question. So suppose we want to do something like want to do research in some interdisciplinary field, or if you want to change major in masters, how like helpful is doing a minor in that subject?
Okay, right. So like I said, they look at what courses you've done as well. So it is very helpful like to have that coursework done and like at least some of that coursework done. Which is why having a minor would definitely benefit if you're planning to switch minors that drastically. Switch majors that drastically. But beyond that as well, if you like, you guys haven't looked yet, right? But there are many interdisciplinary degrees as well. For example, say a biomaterials degree, like in Delft or anything, they take people from material science as well as like mechanical engineering and other things, right? So if you're able to demonstrate proficiency in like either one of those fields, like it's fine. Like they consider it, right? I think like if you're from EC as well, say something like biomedical devices or like something biomedicine, right? Like where your main goal is to design instruments and sensors for like medical purposes. In the master's degrees like that, they will consider like that, okay, you have these courses from EC and like things like that. But like yeah, minor is generally beneficial, like if you want to apply, like because of the coursework, your coursework requirements are fulfilled by like whatever courses you take. Okay, next question number 9. If we decide to pursue higher studies, should we immediately apply for it after our BTech? Does applying after a few years of job experience make any difference? Okay, see, like for the first question, it depends on what you want to do. If you're not sure that you want to go for a master's, you want to like see the corporate, like how a corporate works and like how it works here, how is the work life in India, and like whether you like it or not, then like if you're not sure basically of whether you want to go for higher studies, then like it's totally fine to take like a year or two off work and see if you like it and then go apply for a master's. For a master's specifically, it is definitely beneficial, but like going directly after your BTech also doesn't make much difference. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't go for a job like saying, okay, like because I want to do master's, this will help my application. That's why I'm working. Like it's better. You can directly get into a master's degree without like without any work experience. Like there's nothing like you need work experience or you need papers to get admitted to a master's degree. Generally, people do that because they're not sure whether it'll work out. Right now, a lot of people are doing that because like pandemic is going on. It's very uncertain whether like stuff will be offline, online. So a lot of people are taking gap years and like they're working. So it's totally fine if you want to do that. A few years of job experience will definitely help if you're trying to switch majors into CS or something like that, because like that is something you can write on your CV that you've done a lot of core CS work as part of your company. And yeah, but like for people who are doing core stuff, like it doesn't make that much of a difference. If someone lacks financial surplus, is pursuing a higher study degree is worth taking loans? Should we focus on getting a nice place instead? Okay, this is a very difficult question. Let me like I said for one of the previous answers, education is an investment. You are like paying a lot of money initially because like you're saying a few years down the line you'll earn a lot more. And trust me, people do earn a lot, like depending on the degree, depending on what work they did in their masters. So the loan will get paid off like pretty quickly if you do get a good placement after your masters, right? Like so depending on the degree, it definitely can be worth taking a loan to like if you're confident in like your ability to go there and do well for yourself and get the thing. Number two, if you do lack a financial surplus, there are still many scholarship programs for you to apply for where they completely fund your like masters or like your PhD programs are generally paid positions, but masters are like there are scholarship programs which you can apply for. The condition is usually that you have to keep your grades above a certain level, and if you're confident in that, like that is another way to like go for a master's degree. But that again depends on what exact degree you're applying for, what people do after graduating from that degree. And yeah, so I can't answer should we focus on getting a nice placement instead, because like this is how I see things. For my field, like I have never sat for placements of CDC, so I don't like I've never explored that part of like whatever life. So if you value like the financial stability more, it might be worth it for you to get a nice placement, work for a few years, and then like go abroad. But like just think it shouldn't be like hampering you, because like a lot of degrees, especially higher studies, pay off like way more than what you like input into like the degree, like in terms of how much you earn afterwards.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I audible? Hi, I'm Gunjan Agarwal.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, if you're suppose applying for the B schools, so in some B schools there's a criteria that you have to have a 2 years of work experience for getting an MBA degree, like for getting admission to an MBA degree. So is it the same for the MS? Like we have to get 2 years job experience for
Okay,
a
right.
particular course.
So for for business degrees, it's like, yeah, you need work experience. Like for business degrees specifically, yeah, it's better to get work experience for like 2 years and go to a job if you're applying outside. But there is no such requirement for MS degree or like research degrees.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But for business degrees, yeah, you need the work experience. So like, yeah, if you want to go for a business degree later on, placement is the way to go.
Yeah.
Next question. For higher studies, is it necessary to apply for foreign universities only, specifically when there is some financial constraint? What difference does getting a degree itself in India make? It makes a lot of difference. I don't think it's worth it pursuing higher studies here. Like I said, there are ways to deal to lessen the financial strain on your family, and like you can like go for scholarships and like other things to like lessen the financial strain. Getting a degree in India, I don't think like the master's curriculums or like the placements and everything is that robust in India compared to foreign universities. I'll just give you an example, right? In my master's degree, in my first year itself, I have like credits for like a project where I design something for a company and give it to them. I have like a 3-month internship as part of my degree. My profs have startups. Like in my college, my profs own their own like startups, and this is something you'll see in like all across foreign universities, right? Where every degree is like heavily integrated, like with the industry. That like whole design is to like get you into like companies, right? So it is a massive difference compared to Indian, like the quality of the degree. And like the thing is, number two is like when you go for a master's outside, you're generally trying to get placed in like that region itself. And I think like in terms of at least core opportunities, the core opportunities in the industry, for my industry specifically, is way better outside than it is here. And I'll probably go settle there only, like work there for a few years. So it does make a massive difference. And like I said, financial constraint, there are many options. The loan generally pays off, like depending on the degree. If you go to a degree which is like industry oriented, it generally pays off. But again, you have to do that research for yourself. Stalk people on LinkedIn, stalk graduates on LinkedIn, find out what they're doing, see how much they earn, talk to seniors who've done that degree, find out how hard it is to get like through and things like that, and then make the decision for yourself. But I would say like I would not like advise getting a higher studies degree in India. If we made up our mind for higher studies, how and when to start preparing for it? How to shortlist universities based on field of interest and chances of getting it? How to prepare for GRE, SAT, GATE, and ESE? All right. Okay, this is a pretty long question again. How to start preparing for it? Okay, so two things you start. You should start like maybe the July of like the year. So the university deadlines are usually in December. Start in December, go until April, depending on the university. Europe is usually later than like it's usually from Feb to April. US and Canada are generally December. If you made up like your mind, start preparing in July itself. Like say, make a list of universities. How to shortlist universities based on field of interest and chance of getting in. When you like go to labs and start working for labs, you get an idea of the fields you're interested in, right? And you get to know what labs are like the cutting edge of the field and where they're from. So like you get an idea of, okay, that this institute is good for my field because I know so and so lab who's doing some insane work. So I can apply there for my higher studies because I want to do that work. How to shortlist universities based on field of interest is like that's how you do it, because certain universities are known for certain things. Like UW Madison is really good for biology, for example. Like different things like that, because based on different fields, certain universities are better than others, like which the QS rankings don't reflect. How to shortlist universities based on chances of getting in. The way I did it was I applied to like 8 to 10 universities, out of which like 2-3 were like Ivy League, which I thought I wouldn't get in. Majority were like things like middle of the road places. I mean, middle of the road means they're good universities, but I thought like I would have an okay shot of getting in. but if things go bad, I won't get in as well. And I had like backup universities, like which I was reasonably sure in getting in. You generally you need a shortlist like something like this, like on chances of getting in. You need to look at admission rates, how many people from your seniors have got in, like with your similar experience, how have they got in after applying, and what fields they were interested in and how they applied, and like make the decision on choosing based on that. Right now it seems very hard, but like once you like get into research, talk to seniors, and like and interact with people in the field, you get a much better idea of how to get works. How to prepare for GRE, SAT, GATE, and ESC. So I can help you with only GRE because I've not given the other exam. I'm not prepared at all for the other exam. First step is to check whether your degree, the degrees are applying for need GRE, because mine didn't need GRE, needed only TOEFL. Number two, to prepare for GRE, I think like the only section you need to worry about is the vocab section, because everything else is like 10th grade random stuff. I mean, GRE and TOEFL is generally, it's like such a money sink. It's like they just charge so much money for random shit. Okay, that's why like a lot of places are removing GRE requirements. So you need to check whether your degree needs GRE. Then to start prepping, I just start with the vocab section. Like there's a really good book called Word Power Made Easy by Norman something. Check that book out. Like that will help you get started on vocab. And then the best bet after that is like to do practice questions, which you can find online. You can find some official ones from like ETS itself, but a lot of free resources like Magoosh and a lot of YouTube channels do cover GRE prep as well. So your best bet would be to do previous year's questions. Same for TOEFL as well. Where like TOEFL is a very easy exam. You shouldn't like be stressing over it that much. Like again, I did it through only, I got 112 in TOEFL. Those guys gave me 23 on speaking because my mic was gone. But I got 30, 29 in the other three fields. It's very chill. Like you can do it through free resources. If you're preparing for GRE, TOEFL is like a walk in the park. Like again, resources like Magoosh and like a lot of YouTube channels do cover practice questions and how you're supposed to do it. So like that's how I would prepare for like these entrance exams. Generally, GRE and TOEFL is like what the exams they at max will ask. Next question.
Right, Shyama, I received a question through chat. It says, you talked about having a master's from a foreign university is a better idea. So what if a student is enrolled in a dual degree in KGP? Is it feasible and advisable to again get an MS degree from a foreign university?
See, like again, depends on what you want to do. If you have a dual degree here, it is very likely that you will be able to get a PhD admit outside. And like if you wanted to go into core research, a PhD admit is a way better bet. Since I'm a 4-year course, like I had to apply for masters because a lot of places this year, especially because of COVID, PhD applications are very fucked up and very like difficult, especially for my fields of research. So like because I didn't have a master's thesis, it was very difficult to get it. So like if you are like in a dual degree right now, it is not like you can probably apply for a PhD outside with your master's thesis, and you would be able to get it. So if you want to go into research, that would be a better way. My point is that like whatever higher studies degree you're doing, like either your final degree, either your master's or PhD should be outside. Like is what my point is. Apart from academic preparation for aforesaid tests, what other skills should we focus on? Should we start learning for other foreign languages or English is enough? Okay, number one, don't waste time learning foreign languages before you know where you're going. Most science degrees, especially higher studies, don't have a language requirement. Arts degrees do, but science do not. If your university for some reason does have a language requirement, then you might need to learn, but most places are fine with English and they're fine with you having your TOEFL score and they don't care. Apart from academic preparation, what other skills you should focus on? I wouldn't say like others. There are other skills that you particularly need beyond like your research experience and whatever your academic performance and like preparation for tests. Sometimes like having co-curricular activities do help in like when you're writing your SOP. So like try to get involved in like stuff if you have time. Even if you don't have time, that's not a problem. You like just like try your best to get as much research experience or experience in your field. Even like working in a corporate like in your field is like also fine, but like beyond that, like I don't think there's anything else. English is like more than enough for like every degree. Like I've not learned Dutch like where I'm going yet. Like I don't like need it on it. Yeah, that's it. Next question. Okay, we're done. So any more questions you can ask now.
Right. So any general question, anything related to research or higher studies, whatever you want to know about, please raise your
Anything that's
hand.
not covered before.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I had one question. What effect does our CGPA have? Suppose if I am to apply for a higher education, does my CG play a really important role in me getting that admit?
Oh yeah, it does. So try to keep your CGA above like 8.5 at least, because like a lot of places do have CGA requirements for masters. But again, if you have enough experience and if you're able to sell your experience like enough, like it's actually fine. I know I know a close friend who's got into Stanford with a CGPA right under 8. So it does matter to a point, but it matters in the sense that say like a lot of internship programs for FTs and all have a CGA requirement. They'll just give it to the highest CG who's applying for. So it does matter. At the same time, it doesn't matter as well, because when you're applying for masters, your CG, like it's fine. Like as long as you're like above what they require, like it's like fine. Any other questions? There's one more, I think.
Yeah, Rudra Jyoti Das. You can unmute yourself.
So if I want to take a project under a professor from KGP, what do they see while accepting someone? Do they check our self projects or the motivation that we show or the courses that we have done? Like what matters more?
If you're in it obviously matters. All of that matters. Probably like what they'll be looking for, like your motivation, obviously, and like what courses you've done. Because like if you've done self projects, that's actually like pretty good, because like the more similar, the more experience you are with their work, like the more likely they'll be able to be willing to take you. However, like a lot of profs still are willing to teach students, because they won't like directly teach it. They just assign another guy to one of their students to teach you. And like to get you acquainted with their research. So it's like fine even if you don't have all those things. Like if you want to apply, if you're like able to show interest, they'll take you. Like, and you have it. The problem is like KGP Pro sometimes like look at your CGP while deciding. So like again, like that's another reason why you should keep a decent CG.
Do the courses matter much? Like the courses that we have done till now, like till the point we have sent our application?
I mean, it might, but the thing is like if you're in second year, I don't think you've done a lot of courses which will have like project focus and all. So like right now, I don't think whatever courses you've done matter. At most, maybe you can say coding and all because you did PDS or you've done some online course. But like if you see later on, a lot of courses like third and fourth year, a lot of courses have project components, and that will definitely help when you're like applying. So right, yeah. We have a few more questions.
Yeah, Saloni, you can go ahead.
Can I ask one more question?
Okay, sure. Like,
yeah, okay.
Rudra Jyoti, you can finish.
So how to approach professors from other universities?
I mean, it's the same mode, right? You need to write a cover letter with your CV. Just send them an email saying, "Hi, I'm so and so. This is my introduction. Just give an intro. I'm doing this degree at KGP." Second paragraph should be why you are applying to their lab. Why do you like their work? Why are you motivated to do their work? Because this is the one they look for. The third thing would be what skills you have so far, and how those skills will be able to contribute to their work. And last would be a conclusion saying you'll do it online or offline. Will you like what timeline you'll do it in? Do you have funding if you're doing it offline or online, etc. This is a general structure. Obviously, before you send it out to professors from other universities, ask your seniors how it's done, because it might be different for different departments. I can't like speak for every department when I say this. But yeah, like in general, without any experience, like profs from outside KGP won't accept you, which is why like I'm saying get a project under a KGP prof first, and then say in your email to the prof from outside, say that you've worked with this KGP guy and like you have this and this skills, and like that's why how it will benefit.
Yeah, means I have one question that as you said that means to get a project so from foreign university we have to apply for professor, but from where can we get to know that which are the ongoing projects or research in foreign university? Is there a particular website from where we can get, or we have to search through whole?
I mean, so like see, unlike KGP, the professors outside have their own websites and they maintain it very well. They'll always update it with what projects they have. So you need to look in the individual professors, see what work they're doing, because like probably on their department websites as well, will be listed the basics of their work, and they'll have their own website which explains all their work in detail. So like you need to go and look. There's no one portal where like all this stuff is there.
And for KGP, as you mentioned that there is no way, means so how can we approach the KGP professors, means if they haven't mentioned it anywhere in the website?
If they're not mentioning it anywhere, you can't find it online. You can stalk their Google Scholar, see what papers and what field they're working on. Second thing, ask seniors in your department or who have worked with them. Try to contact like people who work with them, or like even seniors, like a senior in a department who is into research or into research would know what like each prof does, even if they've not worked with them. So you contact them and like you find out exactly what they do and how they are as a prof and things like that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So, how important is an FT as compared to research intern? Like, what is the comparison?
The comparison is that like obviously like see, the better professor you can get like you can work with, or the better lab you can work with, obviously like look better on your like CV and your application. In general, when you go for an FT, you'll go for a university that's like more research focused or better than KGP in that regard. So definitely it's better than like a research intern. And how you go about this is you apply for like internship programs where they'll pay you money as well. They do all the visa stuff. They'll pay you money as well for you to work with a prof. And then like, so how it normally goes is that in second year you work with an Indian prof. In third year you work with you go for third year, or fourth year if you're a dual degree you go for FTs. And the thing is, and the recommendations also will have higher value if the professor's lab is senior and they have a lot of good publications and things like that.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
So what is the Mitax Global Link and what are the requirements?
Okay. So Mitax is a government scholarship between the Indian government and the Canadian government, where they connect you directly with like a lot of Canadian labs in like various fields. And they give you funding. They handle everything from plane tickets to accommodation to visa and everything, where you can go to a Canadian lab and work with them for 2 to 3 months and like learn it. Right. So the aim of Mitax is for you to do a higher studies degree in Canada. So how to of higher studies in Canada. That means if you want to go to a Canadian university later on, Mitax is very good because like it gives you higher priority in admits to Canadian universities. Okay. So Mitax is there for almost every field, but in general you need what I've been seeing in the past few years is that you need a higher, it's better to have a higher CG because like it's pretty difficult for people, let's say under 8.5 to get Mitax. Before it was fine, but like now, like in recent, like last 2 years, the CG requirements have increased and it's become very weird. So try to keep your CG high. It's open to only pre-final year students, so you can't apply for it if like you're in second year right now. You need to apply for it next year. You had a second question, right? How to go about it?
Yeah.
So essentially, you just go to how Mitax work is that you give a list of projects. You give a ranked list of projects, and the professors like rank the students who applied for their projects, and like that list is matched, and like you get to like work with the professor. Once you like fill out the application, you will be able to like see the list of projects and like see what you're working at. Again, do the same thing. See which professor it is. Go stalk their lab. See what people like. See if you like their work, and then only like create a priority order. But this again, like Mitax is generally September. I think it's pre-final year students only. So like, I don't think like right now you need to worry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? Any more questions?
Nobody is raising their hand, so I don't know. Please, if you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
any questions, just do not hesitate.
Yeah.
Saloni, do you still have a question?
I don't think so. I think she forgot
No.
to lower her
Yeah.
hand.
yeah. Anyone else? All right. So no, like Samhuti has a question: what to do if you want to drop out from college?
Okay, I have no idea, man. Like I never considered it. One of my friends did well, like not in KGP, from somewhere else, but like, I don't know. I think this is a joke question, so I'm not like giving it more attention.
Yeah, it is. Any more serious questions?
I mean, what your semester hasn't started yet, or has it started?
No, it will start on 10th August.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So now it's summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
If somebody has any questions specific to biology, then also you can ask.
Oh, or you can text me later, like whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine. Otherwise, I think we're done here. I hope you all like some of your questions at least got answered. Again, I'm telling you, like your best bet would be to like talk to seniors in your own department and your own field and see how they went about it. Because like my experience is only biology, and like it will be different from other departments. I hope you like, yeah, I hope you learned something today, and like some of your questions at least got answered. Thank you, Aditri, for organizing this session. And yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was honestly really helpful.
Yeah, okay. If anyone needs anything later, you can text me on FB. Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.